Welcome to episode 2 of Putting in the Work. Comedian Dave Hintz joins us, so this one will actually be funny. I'm kidding. Brandon was fantastic. Dave, how are you?
I'm good, Pat. How are you?
Oh, I am living the dream. If you caught the first episode, we had Brandon on. He worked on a story. I started to go to work on mine right away. I told a story. Dave, I think I've told you before, I was thrown out of the Navy years ago, and I've always wanted to say that on stage. I don't even know that, but
I don't think I know the story. No.
Okay, well, watch episode 1, bitch, man. Spoiler alert for people who are going backwards. No, but basically, long story short, I didn't really have a joke. I always wanted to tell it, but I went to the Navy and right out of high school because I thought I had no chance ever going to college or whatever. I was a kid that got yelled at a lot, didn't take direction. I thought it'd be a scared straight myself type thing. But when I went there, combination of leaving my first girlfriend ever, who I was still in love with, but she was about to become a senior in high school, and I'm going away to the Navy, so she was going to just be with other people, didn't care. It's happy I'm leaving, I guess. But anyway, I go there. I don't eat. I can't listen to people. Within 3 weeks, I'm finding ways to fake crazy to get thrown out. I pretend I was Superman. I put like a steel wool blanket around my neck during a fire drill, said I was putting a force field over everybody. They knew I was fucking around, so they brought me to a psychologist and just said, hey, we know you're not crazy, but you can't be on a fucking boat. And then so they said, we're going to send you home honorably, but then they make you go in this holding place, wait a couple of weeks, they process you back, they fly you to boot camp like on a nice plane, but when you get thrown out, they put you on a bus from Illinois to Bridgeport.
So that sucks.
The worst. So, but the key parts of this joke was me telling, like trying to build the feelings of how I was there and losing weight and not listening to people and all that. And then when I got through all that, also telling the side story, the last couple of days, the holding part's like a prison almost, but you're not like in a cell, you're in a regular barracks, but like they don't care about you and they're just making you clean. They're making you clean everything. Like you're cleaning the lake. You're clean because it was right on Great Lake.
How do you clean the lake?
Well, around it. You're literally taking sticks.
Oh, okay.
You're like feet are in the water and you're fucking cleaning the paper that's in it.
Gotcha.
You're
all right.
skimming shit in the sides. You're cleaning all the fucking cafeteria. You're the janitors because you're fucking leaving. It's not just a guy who fake crazy and is sad. It's guys who got trouble for drugs. It's guys who are fighting, guys who are raping, guys who are fucking criminal. Like everybody's all hanging out together.
Like and dishonorable.
Yeah, all getting sent home the same way. As long as you weren't put in a brig, you're waiting there. And
gotcha.
So, and the one little funny story I told in it was that at night we still had to be our own patrol people. So it was like Oates and whoever, you're the two patrolling while everyone sleeps. No one's allowed to go into the bathroom, especially here in the showers, because someone might try to kill themselves. Maybe because there are people who like probably their father, their grandfather were all in the Navy. They're not going to go be in it now. And they'd rather kill themselves than go back home and be beaten, whatever. So I hate to repeat it for the other people, but basically I was watching, I heard the shower, as I got woken up, told I'm next, I heard the shower water on and voices quietly in the shower. And I kind of hear, and I'm like, I think I know what that grunt is. So I just took a bar of soap and kind of threw it around the corner and yelled, break it up. And I could hear I hit him with it. With his sleep. So like, that was my little thing. So I shared all that. And then afterward, we were done talking about it, I kind of went on a rant quick. And I said, just now with the story, just saying, what's fucked up is I only signed up for it because everyone had always told me my grades were so important. And I didn't do homework. I never went to class. So I knew I was failing. I wasn't even supposed to graduate high school. They just let me leave 3 credits short just because I was like 5 years in. Like, get the fuck out. They're like, go. So I'm like, I can't go to college. My life's a wreck. No college will take me. I'll never do. I have to go to the fucking Navy, even though I don't want to fucking do anything. I don't want to do. I don't like guns. I don't like any of this. I don't like water. Like, what the fuck am I doing? But like, I just signed up.
Why Navy?
Because I said it before. I thought they were the pussiest of all 4. So I thought
Air Force.
You never hear about them being tough. So I was like, all right, I'll get shot the least. It's like, I don't know.
You should have gone Air Force. My
cousin was in the Air Force, so I had respect for it.
Oh, okay.
It's funny because I also had a cousin in the Navy, and I know he's a good guy. I don't know why I didn't respect him. So anyway, so I was going on this rant with Brandon, and I said, what's fucked up is when I came back 50 pounds lighter. Like I literally went there at 185 pounds, and I was home at like 140, 135, 5'11", like not eating, fucking decimated. Like basically like new Auschwitz. So I would call the look. So it's like, so I was ranting to Brandon. I just said, It's fucked up because I came home, I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do for weeks. I'm not eating. I don't know what to do with my life. My dad's like, just apply for the local schools. What? And then they reject you, whatever. And then right away, Southern just took me. And I'm like, I never had to fucking go. Any of that. Like literally because everyone told me that my grades mattered and this and that. I forgot. Oh, it's just money. They just wanted money. I could have just gone to college and not done any of that shit. So that's made me think maybe the Navy story isn't the story. Maybe the Navy part, maybe the rant about that is that like I could start off by saying something like it's weird that everyone just lies to kids. You know, it's like Santa and like, hey, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You grow up, you're like, we fucking skip breakfast so fucking much. The meal is when you eat, motherfucker. It doesn't matter. It's like ham and eggs ain't more important than a steak. It's like
the most important meal of the day has a cartoon captain on the front who's trying to cut the shit out of your mouth.
Who said that? People trying to sell you goofy shit.
Exactly.
But we were bought into it. We were told that finish your food, do this. Just all this shit's important. Don't be respectful. But then you grow up and you're allowed to be disrespectful. It's like, what? I was just doing that to train for the opposite side. Like, it's fucking weird. And then saying, and also grades are important. And then tell that story how it's not fucking important at all. And kind of get into a whole thing like, and working on the idea of the ending being, even though I wasn't there long, I was basically like two types of heroes. I was Superman, a legitimate hero trying to save people. And I saved that one guy's asshole as well. Nobody has saved more semen than this guy. That'd be the punchline. No one saved more semen. And I'm kind of working on the idea, but maybe go that route. So I still got process, but I think I might go more to the ring because that's more me than a woe is me. I had sad times in the Navy story because I don't really have a punchline.
I've been trying to, every time I've tried to do a rant, I've been unsuccessful. Like, and
on stage.
On stage, yeah.
Because one of the greatest rants ever was you getting real mad at how bad comics were at the Bringer show Frank did one time when you're like, fuck. Oh. It was a comic we won't name because he liked the attention. You're like, fuck him. He's the fuck. What the fuck?
Oh my God. Yeah. I have a pretty long fuse, and when it goes off, it's
fucking awesome.
All the way off.
It's a long fuse, but it's like fucking New York fireworks.
Fuck that kid. Oh, I remember that. Fuck that.
All right. So what do you got?
So I started doing recently this premise about, which I like. So I do the premise about, like, I know I come across the premise is I know I come across abrasive on stage, but in real life, I'm polite to a fault. I've implicated myself. I'm so polite. I've implicated myself in drug deals. And I tell the story about the most recent one, and which is, a true story, about, after a show, I walk into two guys committing a drug deal in one of them, the dealer's like leaning on my car. And when I interrupt him, like, like I freaking both out, the guy drops a bag of pills. I pick him up and I end up being the one that, like, I'm holding the pills and the dude who's buying the drug is so confused that he gives me the cash and I give each party what they came for. Like, and it's like, holy fuck, like that actually happened. So, yeah. And, I talk about embellish it and blah, 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 blah. The thing that, like, that's going all right. The thing that I want is, so it's happened twice that I've just, because of polite, I've been tagged for drugs. The first time, and I've never been able to really, really get this story to come together in a way that's like, I think it's hysterical, but I just don't, I can't convey exactly what about it or other people. It's never been successful. I went to, this is back when I was
real quick. I'll stop you here because I said this in the last podcast, but whenever I tell the story, I'm not reminding you may already know this, but everyone out there who's trying to do it. The hardest thing about turning a story into a joke, even though you're making a joke, you try to make it a stage story and a story is that a story that, like, your uncle tells at a barbecue all the time that you love, a story by a regular person to people that starts off slow. Yeah, we were going to Cancun, your mom was there. We got in the plane. There's nothing exciting going on.
Right.
Then the buildup is the middle. It's like, we went there. There was a donkey show. There was fisting. It was crazy. Oh my God. It's like, who knew your mother could take so many hands? Like, it's all this crazy shit. And then at the end of the story is usually, we woke up the next day, we had headaches, whatever. We had some breakfast, we took a flight back. Yep, yeah, uncle picked us up. That was nice. So he's like, and we drove back, whatever. And because there's no punchline to a story,
Right,
you're just
right.
ending a story because you're not a joke teller. The hardest thing about moving it is keeping what makes it hilarious, or at least relatable, and what makes it resonate, that core of a story, and finding out which part of that is that ending. Now moving real things to the end was also keeping the story intact. So you have to realize that the story can't be 100% real, because if it was, your uncle would be Chris Rock. Like,
right.
and that's the whole thing. It's like truth stories aren't always, there could be much truth in it, but to fabricate, move, and change things and ideas to change what characters do. If you've already discussed your father before and made him a certain way, maybe he's the guy in the story because the audience can relate, rather than being your uncle, because it makes more sense to the story. So moving things around to make it make sense so the audience can take it in 100% and not have to be there type shit.
Well, so this is interesting, because you've known me my entire time in comedy. So
I've seen all the changes. You've had more changes than Hulk Hogan in the fucking wrestling. Like, you've gone good guy, bad guy, indifferent. It's been crazy.
Well, so this is a good guy story. And that's also part of why I'm interested in it, is because I've been trying to revisit stuff that was back when I was trying to be clean and clever, and like, okay, let's see if I can take some of that shit and do it now, like dark, and what comes of it. Do I still like it? Am I interested in it? And the story is about back when I was still teaching dance, and a girl that I was sleeping with, who I met her through dance. She worked in Yonkers, New York. And so it was, I was going up not for the weekend though, because like I still had to work the next day. So we're going up for one night, and the plan was we were gonna go out dancing. We're gonna meet, go out dancing, go back to her place, blah blah blah. What ended up happening was I got to where she works, the dance studio, and we never left. We just started going at it, and we spent hours at her job
Going at it dancing, or going out having sex?
Having sex.
Okay, so first I'm like, that could mean either one.
Well, yeah, fair enough. So one of the things that was hilarious to me is like I went back to that place professionally, and like the dude who owned the studio was like, "Hey, you ever been there? Can you find it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can find it." So by the time we leave, it is like it's like 2:00 in the morning. I need to drive home because I need to go to work the next day. So I drive her to her apartment, drop her off. And this is back when, all right, so I took the trip up. This is back when I was driving the Mini. So, yeah. And I was a 20-something-year-old kid on a mission to get laid. And so my car was impeccable. And on the way up, the only thing in my car, other than like it was super clean, was a bag of candy that I bought at a convenience store. Like, I need a snack for the ride home. So I drop her off, say goodbye. I'm walking back to my car, and I get passed by a dude on the street who says something like, he just like, he does you got the time. Like I didn't know. And I didn't know what that meant. Like, I thought he was actually legitimately asking for the time, but apparently, like, okay, and I should have been able to figure this out because I knew what I was making at the time, and she was in the same position as me. So she wasn't making shit for money, and she was living in New York. So not only was she not making shit for money, but she was also living in a way more expensive place than I was. So it didn't dawn on me that the neighborhood was not great. So this dude was doing a drug dealer setup that I totally went over my fucking head. So do you have the time? I gave him the time, and I walked back to my car. I get in my car, I start the car, I make it about half a block from her apartment, and I get pulled over by, no shit, 3 cop cars. Lights go up immediately, and 6 cops come and get me out of my car because the dude who I talked to was a known drug dealer. And they're like, "What are you doing here? What the fuck? How do you know that guy?" And I'm like, and I told him the truth. I came here to go salsa dancing with this girl. And this was back in, clean cut, suit, tie, super white guy me, like nothing about me in a like white dude, button down shirt, clean cut, Mini Cooper. Nothing about that says salsa dancing. Like the truth sounds like a lie. That was hysterical to me. And there was one fucking super asshole cop. Like one guy was awesome and he was getting a kick out of everything that I was going through. And the other guy, one guy was a super fucking dick who was just looking to nail me to the wall. And every answer I gave was like, fuck you. And I didn't tell you to do this. And what are you doing? And I don't believe you. Just being like good cop, bad cop. And the guy was just a fucking prick. So going through all the bullshit, the only thing they find in my car, and there are at this point, 4 full-grown adult male police officers jammed into my goddamn Mini Cooper trying to find all the drugs that I bought. And the only thing they find is a bag of candy. And like the look on the guy who, the bad cop, the look on his face when they came up and they're like, yeah, we just found this, was just like, it was gold. I wish I could fucking frame it and put it on the wall because he was such a prick and they had nothing. And that's the whole story. Like it really was just, I got tagged, I got racially profiled, I got tagged for buying drugs, for looking like I did, like, oh, this guy's got money. What's he doing in this neighborhood at this time of night? And yeah, that's so like I answered the question of like, hey man, like, I didn't recognize it was how you started a conversation as a drug dealer. I answered the question and I immediately implicated myself in a crime. So that's the story. That's the second time.
There's so much there. And it definitely has legs. It's got everything. And I think it's funny that you think you're like, no, this is one of those clean stories.
Well,
I went to go fuck a lady in the hood.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, but I would never say it like that, and that's like, so getting close to I'm boning this girl. Like that's a much stronger lead in than I ever had.
It's not the wording. See that I think you don't see on stage what people see on stage. You are both. And that's what's great. You are Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but you're constantly that. You don't flip. People can be complex. You aren't one or the other. And for you, I real quick, because I've known you your whole comedy career, I think it's funny how you said, well, when I was trying to be clean and clever, I think you're so much more clever now. I think what you write now is way more clever. I think before you were taking the easy way out because you were living in two worlds. You had to keep like a good profile for your dance career, but you also wanted to do comedy and you didn't know how to do both because you were still bringing dance friends to the fucking joke house and you didn't know what to fucking do. And so therefore you're trying to do this shit. And I was trying to get it out of you by yelling at you at open mics and making shit. Because I knew that you were evil.
Can we just revel in that? What you just said, that line tickles me. You had to keep it. You had to keep it clean for your dance career.
Yeah,
I fucking love that. That's a true statement about.
That's a true statement. So let me break down your story from my point of view. Me hearing that for the first time.
Okay, hit me.
If that's me, if I'm presenting this on stage, obviously we're two different comics in the way we present. So this is just how it went through my head. I would never tell anyone to tell the joke like this. This is just how I would approach it. The first thing I would say is, we've all heard someone say, like, how far would you drive to get laid? Dude, look up the mileage, whatever it is, from where you were living then to where that was in New York, because that'd be funny, like 192 miles. That's literally from Hampton, Connecticut to whatever New York, whatever mileage would be. Kind of funny thing. And it's like, but we all know that when you say that, you're like, if you have to drive that far for it, there's a reason why it's that far away. You know what I mean? Like, so there's like any other thing where you're gonna save a damsel, there's danger. So I'm driving there to go meet this girl. We're both dancers, not gay. We're both dancers, and because I would almost sprinkle that in the whole fucking do it before they do it.
The funny thing about that to me was always the girl's name was Jamie. Her actual name was Jamie Torres. Like the reason
it wasn't Jaime.
No, it was right. And that's the thing. Like, so I'm a male ballroom dance instructor and I'm going to get laid. And her name is Jamie. Like, oh yeah, fuck it. All right, whatever. Eat a bag of dicks.
Yeah, literally. That's what they thought you were going to do.
Right.
With Jamie Torres. It's like, you want AIDS now or later?
The whole reason we hooked up, like, from, you know me, I love Hispanic women.
Mm-hmm.
And I work in Connecticut, right? And I worked in Hamden, Connecticut. So there was slim pickings. We went to this, the fucking thing I loved about the dance industry. I had, fuck me, dude. I had so much fun. When I was first starting, the industry was dominated by women and gay men. So I go to my first, like every 6 months, they would do these.
Kind of like comedy in New York now.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Except the women were attractive.
Gays, shut up.
Dude, it was just rooms full of women who were in their 20s, guys who just, okay, so women get super horny when they feel safe, and they're like, all right, whenever dancing is one of those, everybody
Dude,
gets
don't say that in your joke.
but it's fucking true. It's
That's the most predator statement I've ever heard. What are you, the crocodile hunter? Like, what are you doing? Women feel safest when they're fucking horrible. Women are horniest when they're safe. That's what a guy says when a girl's chained to a furnace.
Oh, fucking hey, thank you for, no, I am using that. Thank you for that.
Why is she chained to the furnace? Because she's horny.
See, that's the thing, though. What you're not seeing is that when you unchain them, that's when they're horny. So you chain them up and you don't do anything. But when you let them free, like, okay, he's not going to hurt me. So what are you into? That's it. I
didn't know we were going to quote Andrew Jackson in the movie. So,
oh, fuck.
But I think the key to this story, to paint a picture of other people, is you don't have to get into detail about her or the dance. It's just a quick thing. Basically, you drove all the way there, but you need to explain where you're going. So you don't have to do the miles, like I said, but whatever you're doing, you have to literally just make sure it's clear. Here I am, a young dancer driving a Mini Cooper, driving to the hood to go sleep with an attractive Spanish woman. It's West Side Story, but with fucking. It's like what it is. So I'm driving there. I'm going there. You know, I'm young and horny. She's young and horny and feeling safe. You know, and so. You know what they always say, when a guy slides in the he got a boner. Safe.
Well, okay. So this is the whole reason this story.
Your name's the Safe Cracker now.
Oh, I like that. But the whole reason where this came from is you know my bit about you know, I'm the perfect combination of safe and dangerous.
Yeah, and then you say rape.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the dangerous part. It sets up for the rape.
Rape
but
is
the
dangerous.
safe part, the set.
I'm just real quick putting that message out there, buddy.
I don't know. I don't hear it, Pat. I don't know what you're saying.
It's me, Bill Cosby, and I'm telling you, rape is unsafe.
Oh, fucking Christ.
They were safe when they were sleeping.
Well, this all grew out of that setup. Like I got bored with the safe part and started to expand on that and started to like, okay, I should tell these stories about like how I'm safe, how I'm polite, how I am this like goody two shoes. And that's all. So it's just funny, the safe and the danger. Like that women feel are horny when they get safe. Like that's something that's I'm going to cook on. Cause I think maybe I could actually use that. Like,
right,
I like
definitely. But I think for this story,
sorry, I got
The
sidetracked.
key to it. No, you're right. The great thing about the workshop and stuff is you'll get ideas for other things too. We can work on one joke. You might not get anything for this story, but get 4 ideas for 4 different jokes. That's the great thing about workshop and just bullshit with someone else is that you can get like Stephen Wright would say, you would take like an item and put it down and stare at it and like a bottle of ketchup and then write about the ketchup. You know, if I was ketchup, if ketchup was never invented, if ketchup could talk, whatever. When he was done, he had 12 new jokes. Maybe none of them were about ketchup because literally just got his mind going into different things, different ideas came out and it was all whatever. So, but with this, I think the key is to set where you're going, why you're going, and the spirit you're in. I'm young, I'm horny, so is she. We go there. It's like, listen, I didn't even, when you said you didn't realize it was the hood, I wrote down nothing blinds racism more than pussy. Like it literally, like if you show me a Klans member who's getting laid, and I'll show you guys leaving the Klan. You know what I mean? Like you don't see. I've gone.
We need to kill them all except for her because she lets me do things.
Right. But you think about, like, in comedy, we've gone to like areas like. When I first started, I was going into areas of Springfield, Massachusetts that now people are like, you were there? I'm like, I was standing outside, like, telling people to come on in. I was doing crowd work to fucking gangbangers. I just thought they were at the show. We forget where we are when we're doing something that we enjoy. So therefore, it was that young feeling of vigor. And I said vigor, and we're going and I know we're going certain areas. So don't cancel me. So you go into this area and you're excited and you're going there, and the whole time when you get out and then the cops see you and all, when you did good cop, bad cop should basically be when you present them, the two ways that you see you. One of them's like, because really that's what they would be. One of them's like, he's just a young kid trying to get laid. The other one's like, dude, he's a faggot. Like he's like, come on. He's obviously, you've seen the Mini Cooper, you've seen the outfit. The girl's name is Jamie. They were dancing. He's like, these are all fine things for young men to do. All right, it's fine. So, and then you got to build that story. You got to build them up. There's a bad guy and a good guy, and you're just kind of not saying anything. It's just like, listen, it's already out of my hands. And what do I care? I can't even think. I just came 15 minutes ago. Like, my brain hasn't worked. I'm like, I'm in the hood watching cops tear apart my life, and I'm like, is this what the Menendez brothers went through? Like, I don't even really understand what's happening. But I think it's great at the end when they found the candy, so the bad cop can just go, "I told you he was a pedophile." But working, I think of more how they're reacting to you. But I think the main thing is, the story is something we've all related to, but you have a higher end of it. We've all gone somewhere. There was a girl I started dating, and she was living in Western Mass when I was living in Connecticut, and I didn't have a car. Dude, I was taking a train to go see her, and then had to like go do a show the next day. It was like you did, like, not caring that I had to get home at a certain time to turn around to not sleep because I was just dumb and in love. I would do. There was one girl I was seeing that she lived with her parents, and I was living too far away from where she could be. So we would like hook up in my car and then fall asleep in my car. Like I bring her back, and I'm like, I wasn't a child. I was already divorced. I had kids. And I was doing this just because I was having fun and living life. When I look back at that, I'm like, sleeping overnight at 4 a.m. off Route 34 in a park and drive, I could have been murdered. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not even thinking about what I was doing. But like, we've all been there. So when you tell that story, I get it. And then to have it fall apart, it's like, you can almost keep reiterating, I want to make it clear. I should have been more nervous when the cops grabbed me. I should have been fucking petrified when they were going through my car. And yeah, I'm not a bad guy. I don't do drugs. I don't have those things. I do have a license. B, I just got laid. You understand how happy I am? And again, she was safe. But you know what I'm saying? I think the punchline, the main ending is the cops and all that stuff there. But it's like, I don't know if you could, but I think the more you focus and talk about getting laid, when a comic is like doing well in life, people don't like relating. It doesn't have to always be negative, but if you get laid, something bad better happen. How many times you watch a guy is like, so I was fucking this bitch, whatever. And it's like, it has nothing to do with fucking, but he just wanted to tell you he was sleeping with somebody. And there's a guy sitting there who's like, I haven't gotten laid in 3 years. My life sucks. He's a thin, handsome, dancing guy. I'm a big fat fuck. Fuck him. I'm not laughing at him. But if you're like, it's not about the getting laid. It's about like, every time I think things are going my way, they don't. But thank goodness I look like, you could almost take, I didn't even think of it. You could, instead of that joke you do as a joke on its own, that line about safe and whatever could be in the middle of the story. it's like when things happen to me, I know that people see me two ways. I'm safe and dangerous. Like literally, the one cop looks at me and he's like aspirin. He would just help you. He couldn't hurt you. And the other guy's like, he looks like he can get away with rape. Like it's almost like right there in a describer, instead of being a joke on its own, it's almost how the cops could be describing you. They could have your joke as a conversation in the middle of that fucking story. Because it's almost like two people are looking at you with that joke at the same thing. Most of your jokes are you being two different people looking at you. You do all the time. Some people think this, but I'm really this, but I'm also this. And it's like those two cops are like the old guys in the Muppet Show, and they're both just fucking, but one of them's nice. Or at least nicer.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I've done that a lot. I've taken old jokes that I don't like. Right now, I'm working on something that I'm going to bring up a little bit, but like I took a story I was trying to tell, it never worked. And then I was working just recently on jokes about, I wanted to write a dating app joke that I wouldn't hate because I hate everyone's dating app jokes. So in my style where it's like, it doesn't work out well. And it's not,
well, you haven't, the thing is though, you haven't heard mine. So
profile. It's like, you feel safe? Call me.
So tell me more. What's the,
I'll get into a little bit, but like, I want to finish on yours, but like what I'm basically saying is I took a story that I wasn't able to work and put it as a situation where it was one of the first dates from the dating app, and it's not, but it made more sense in the framework of what I was doing. Because in the framework of what I'm doing, I'm saying that all dating has become just weird interviews, and no one cares who you are. They just want to know they want to tell you their shit and find out if you like their bullet points. So therefore I was kind of like, and I did that, and it's become a lot of just testing if I trigger things. And so one of the stories I think I've told you is when I talk about someone with a stillborn baby, I
would have remembered that.
Oh, look, then you're going to enjoy this. But the way I've done it at a couple open mics and a show now in my new style. And I've literally at a Stress Factory open mic got an applause break for a stillborn baby joke.
That's fantastic.
And it never worked before because it was real. And it was just me just telling a story, and it seemed like being an asshole. But when it was in the framework of dealing with a dating app, then people didn't mind as much. Do you want to keep working on your thing? Or you want me to go to mine and kind of like let it sit and come back?
Well, you got me thinking about something. Because it's happened twice now, and one of the things I'm struggling with is and some of it's a perception in my head. Like there are certain things like, all right, so my dating app joke ends inevitably in a Holocaust joke, and well, okay, so here's the
That's not what it means. I mean, the outcome for them was inevitable.
I don't understand how everybody doesn't get there. What do you mean?
My comp, your comp, all our comps.
So, why the fuck is that? Okay, so there was that, and then there was another one that I talk about. You know, it's about women and how women control sex, and it leads to a 9/11 joke. And the thing I like about both of them. The thing I like about both of them is when I wrote them, I didn't see him
dance. When more people were like, "Oh, lady, like I'm learning the Charleston so I can dance with my grandson." You're like, "How can I make 9/11?"
So the issue that, again, in some of it, most of it's probably just in my head, is the bit. It fits into a bit. But it's just such a fucking derailer. Like the
Holocaust and 9/11.
Yeah. But like the Holocaust thing, it ends the bit. So I don't mind that it's there, because it's an exclamation point.
Yeah, it shouldn't be filler.
Yeah, but the 9/11 thing, like that one, like that's not the ultimate point. I want to make that in the middle. And I know, like I feel the screeching halt, and I'm like, fuck no.
You think a terrorist yelled at? It wasn't the ultimate point. It was just really a thing.
I was going somewhere with this.
Yeah. The Pentagon.
No,
but I get it. So that's why I like to move things around and do that, because then you might find it doesn't fit in there. But to move, like if you're telling me that one is like a definitive ending and one isn't, then I'd get one away from the ending and move the other one there, and maybe substitute or switch things or whatever till they make sense. Like when I first get a punchline or I have a premise and I don't have a punchline yet, I used to overcomplicate. Try to, craziness. This story's good, so I better have this fucking thing or this joke. It better be insane. And then this is going to be the stupidest comedy advice I've ever given. But I've said this to people recently, and it does make sense to me. And tell me if it makes sense to you. Sometimes you have to be so simple so you can improve. Here's my example. If I ask you who the greatest songwriter of all times is, top of your head, who do you think?
Greatest songwriter? Well, now I understand the question. So I'm going to say something like Paul Simon, and you're going to be like, nope, and you're going to give me someone who writes the most catchy, bore into your head, all of their work. And even if you don't want to, you know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy who wrote Happy Birthday.
Yep.
The greatest songwriter of all time. Everyone wants to sing it. Everyone learns it. Everyone knows the word, and they all want to sing it at their happiest times. It's the greatest song ever written. Say what the fuck you want. You can say you hate it. People say they hate the Beatles. It doesn't matter. It's the simplicity. Right. Now, when you're a kid and you start singing it and you start singing it well, that's when your parents go, oh, maybe they should be a singer or a musician. It's weird because that's the first thing they hear you kind of do and go, oh, they're singing it better than the rest of us just cackling it out, even though we all sing it. And therefore, then you start to build and challenge better to be a Paul Simon. You know what I mean? To be a James Taylor, to be someone who's a great singer, to be a Taylor Swift, a great singer-songwriter, because you started with Happy Birthday. It literally is that simple. Like the greatest joke ever told is probably a knock-knock joke. Or why did a chicken cross the road? It's the first thing we tell when you're teaching humor. You teach that to a child because it's simple and easy. They get it. And then when a child starts to do their own bit on it and make up their own punchline, you go, oh, wait, they're funny. And then you allow them to challenge and develop their sense of humor. If they don't really get it at first, like, okay, jokes aren't for them. And you get that. So when we're writing a punchline for something, sometimes we got to go so crazy that we make it impossible for us to see a different avenue.
It's funny that this is something in the last couple years, just in writing, I literally, and it became my mantra because I said it out loud to myself. I just got pissed off. I'm like, and I said, would you just tell the fucking joke? And it was like, in that moment, the clarity of, oh, you asshole, just simplify. You're doing so much extra bullshit that doesn't help. And that's
I don't like saying people's names, whatever. And I don't even really like the guy, but there was a comic, him, I'm saying it for everyone. There was a comic named Paul Gregory in the Connecticut area, and he would ask for my help with some things. And his biggest issue with telling jokes, and a lot of young comics get, so I'm not shitting on him for this. He's just the example I had. He would take 4 minutes to get to the beginning of a joke because in his head, he had to tell it the way it happened. Right. If he was going to tell you about a story that he read in the newspaper about something, he would tell you how every morning he would get the newspaper. You know how the old people used to do. Before there was Twitter, there was the newspaper, like your grandfather. You get the ink on your hands and yelling that you can hide from your family. He would do this whole fucking thing that wasn't really funny. And it also had nothing to do with the joke, because the joke was about, like the stock market. Like, yeah, you read it in the paper, but you could also say, hey, the stock market's crazy, and just get to the fucking joke. When you do that beginning part, yes, your mind thinks you need it, but what you're forgetting about the audience. You're thinking so much about your joke. You're forgetting about who's taking in said joke. They're a sponge, but they can only retain so much shit. So after a while, it squeezes out. You give them all this shit. What I tell people all the time when they write a joke, only involve the people that need to be involved. If you're going to tell me a story about your backyard barbecue and the story's about your uncle getting nuts, and your aunt's not involved in it or getting mad, they're not a character. We don't need to hear all their names, because if you say my aunt and my nephew and this and that, I'm waiting for your nephew to come back in this story. He's in my head. I'm waiting for him. So therefore, that's taking some of my attention when you're not mentioning the nephew. And then when you don't, I'm like, that's fucking weird. And then the comics like, you're not listening, you're not getting it. Well, I'm not getting it because you put too much shit in my head. Get to the fucking joke. That was one of the chapters of my book. Get to the fucking point was literally called the chapter. Like, it was about cutting it down and getting to that thing. And I said that to Paul one time, and he did cut a whole thing down. And I watched him do it, and he was like, wow, that worked. And also, when you do shit like that and edit it down, especially when you're new and you're only getting 10 minutes here or 12 minutes here or 5 minutes here, you think you can only do 2 jokes. When you edit right like that, you can do 4 jokes. You can do 5 jokes. You can fit more shit in because you're cutting out the bullshit. You got to take out all the shit that's not needed. Look at a joke, even when it's not a one-line or premise punch. Bring it down to the fucking soup and bones. That's it, of just premise punch, and then add back in. If I had to explain this joke to somebody in an elevator for 10 seconds, like an elevator pitch of a joke, how would I pitch it? Boom, boom. I went to get laid one time in a hood, and the fucking cops thought I was fucking dealing drugs. There's no way they thought I could get laid. They're like, dude, that's fucking crazy. I got to hear more about it. You know what I mean? And then you give them more.
So dating apps, right? 9/11.
Yeah. It's the one day I swipe left.
Like I only had 2 choices.
I actually swiped twice, but no one saw the first one. I set up all my dates for 9/11.
Ooh, twins. Fuck.
And they're tall. God damn it. I think I'll just go read a book to kids in school instead. That's a deep cut, what George Bush is doing. Anyway,
oh, that is a deep cut. Well done. Well done.
What else is a deep cut? Part of the wall that fell on people in 9/11.
Yeah.
I texted Frankie Hill something I haven't heard from her, and he didn't respond. So maybe it's a new phone number. So I'll just throw it at you. And this is not the joke I'm working on, but like, have you ever heard the premise? I just came in my head. I was like, the other day, like 2 weeks ago, I was like, I know that everyone's always asking for reparations, but do you think the government's doing it without us realizing it? Like, people are getting reparations, but like, it's not what we think they're getting. Like, is it a coincidence that anyone who ever was related to slaves or anyone who lost a loved one in 9/11 gets to fuck Kim Kardashian? There's more to it than there, but obviously I'm just naming black people and Pete Davidson.
So she the 40 acres of the mule.
Yep. Because she's got a 40-acre ass. Hey,
yeah. Oh, fuck.
7 years behave.
Oh, God.
All right. So, it was the other dumb thing I wanted to say. Okay. So, the joke I'm working on presently, what I've been doing is I'm going up and saying, it's a whole stupid thing. I'm like, I go on a dating app. I never wanted to do it. I don't even really want to date, but I feel like I should. Almost to remind myself that I can't. Like, I don't want to actually go on a date. And I compare it to when I was losing weight back in the day, I was eating pizza a lot, so I didn't want to eat pizza for a while. I cut out pizza, but I still wanted it sometimes. So to tell myself I could have it if I wanted to, but I didn't need it, I put the Domino's app on my phone. And every time I got hungry, I would build a pizza on the app. And then instead of hitting send, I would cancel it. And it made me go, I could if I want to, but I don't need it. And I do the same thing on dating apps. I look at these women and I'm like, yeah, I could definitely do that if I wanted to. But I don't want to deal with that. No, thank you. I hit the button. So that starts to get like the opposite way when people are used to it. And then I say, but the worst part is that everyone says they miss dating in person. I miss it because actually people would ask me real questions like, hey, do you have kids, or what do you do for a living, or what are your interests? Like, for real though, not right. Now. It's just become like interviews of shit. Like, right. And they want to talk to you about like, and this is when I first wrote this joke, I was like, Dave will love this joke. This works because it's so fucking stupid. But literally, I went on stage one day. I see the Dan Brown. I go, just watch this. This is gonna be the dumbest reaction ever. And I was like, I talked to a girl on a dating app, and like a minute in, she goes, I'd rather speak. Can we go on FaceTime? And I was like, all right. So I get on FaceTime, and she's like, so I need to know some things about you if we're ever gonna meet. What's your stance on abortion? And I was like, that's my stance. When I do it on stage, what the fuck?
Fuck you.
I did it at a show where one guy goes, are you the baby? And I'm like, I never thought of it. But I'm going to keep that tag in. I just meant like, I don't want to talk about it, but I like that I'm the baby. No.
I don't know if I should be. No, I don't know if I should, but I definitely am proud that when people say, like, when people are about to tell the dumbest joke they've ever thought of, or the worst, like the most horribly dark joke they've ever heard of, they're always like, Dave, you'll love this one. Yeah. And they're right.
Yep. When I have it's funny, you say you'll be smart and clever. When I have a smart and clever joke, I don't tell it to you. I'm like, and you'll be like, I'll be like, afterwards, like, oh, I like that bit. I'm like, oh, fuck. But I do 3 questions in that. I do that one because I'm cramming an old joke. Like that wasn't an old joke. But the second one I used to try to tell about, I tried to use the term gender fluid. So the second one I have is a woman texted me one time and she's like, so like, are you open to like all kinds of sex? She's like, well, how do you feel about gender fluid? And I'm like, isn't that just a medical term for jizz? And I never heard from her again. But that used to be a joke I tried to do somewhere else. That's the middle one. And then the third one was me saying a girl wanted to text with me and wanted to talk to me, wanted to meet up, but she wanted to tell me about her tattoos. And I was like, she goes, do you want to hear about my tattoos? And on stage I go, well, I wanted to fuck her. So yes, I did. So I was like, oh, these are the most interesting things I can ever think of. Tell me about the hieroglyphics on your body. That's fine. So she's texting me and she's telling me, that she's got like a tattoo that covers her whole back. And she's like, it's like Heaven's Gate. And it's got like 3 animals on it, like a bunny and a bird and a little deer. And on each animal, it's got like initials and dates. She's like, are you following me? And I'm like, yeah, I'm following. I'm standing like, don't pretend like I'm jerking off. Like, yeah, it's great. And she's like, so I think I changed it so it's a phone call because it makes more sense to be a phone call than a text.
Right.
So I was like, it was a phone call, but either way. So she's telling me about it, and I'm like, yeah, sounds hot. And she's like, do you want to know what the dates and initials are for? And I was like, yeah, I do. And she's like, each one of them represents one of my stillborn children.
Oh my God.
And that's what the crowd does right away. And I used to just go right into the thing, but I realized it's such a that I should try to add something. So I added another dumb joke I'd written once into the part where I was like, so I say next I go, listen, I'm not the brightest guy in the world. I'm admit to you. Till about a year ago, I wasn't even 100% sure what stillborn meant. But I was chatting with this lady one time at a bar, and we just got into conversations about after a show, and she asked me if I had kids, and I said, yes, I do. I said their ages and everything, and I asked her, and she said, well, I had a stillborn child. And I said, awesome. And I high-five her. And then she's like, wait, excuse me? I'm like, that's fucking great. Way to go. Me too. She's like, we you too. I go, they were born. They're stillborn. You did it. They made it the whole time. She goes, that's not what it means. It means that when it came out, it wasn't alive. I go, oh, you're confusing that with dead baby. That's a dead baby, which, by the way, are terrible and everywhere but planes. On planes, they're the best. But everywhere else. And then they kind of like laugh and go, oh, and I go, so anyway, so when she said this to me, I knew what it meant.
So,
and I finished the story by saying, because this all really happened, the story. And I said to her, oh, and I didn't know what to say, but I was like, well, I guess I know we can never have sex in doggy style because I can't have a boner over a graveyard. That'd be crazy. She's like, excuse me? And I'm like, but I go, but if you believe in stem cell research, if I come on your back, those kids are coming back, baby. It is.
So-
She's like, well, that's terrible. I go, no, it's not terrible. I'll never have to wear a condom because nothing's living in there.
Okay. I was just going to say, can I share something with you?
Nope, that's the third part. The third part.
Nice.
So in the way that story ends is, and it really happened. I had to there. So I said, so you know what? Because I felt bad about everything I said, we met up. We hung out a couple of times. We had sex. No baby. Anyway, so it's like but it didn't work out, obviously. You could tell the conversation to a level didn't work out. Months later, I was performing at a comedy club with a buddy of mine. Unbeknownst to me, she was at the show. And I told that story about her on stage, not knowing she was there. After the show, she came up to me, a little bit perturbed, and said, was that joke about me? Without batting an eye, I was like, no, not at all. That was about another lady I dated with 3 stillborn babies. She goes, oh, you have a type. So it's been working, and the more and more I've delivered and more added. But what I've done is I've taken 3 separate jokes I used to like kind of play with, not do, and turned it into this dating app thing. But do you think I need? I'm having them interview me. And I think I can go a little bit longer. And what I'm playing with now is, should I have a question or two that would be like, so when they do that to me, I kind of want to go ridiculous my own way. Like I wrote something down where I was like, I asked them questions like, do you trust people with nose hair? Like, what? I go, like, how do you just have nose? If I sense something, I'm plucking it right away. I know people that have like bushes coming out. Like, if you have nose hair, I'm not letting you watch my kids, my house, anything, because you will not pay attention.
That's a really interesting okay, so I've been trying to find ways to insert like not one-liners, but like stuff that's not in like silly or whatever, like, so to my mind, one-liners, like it's a quick out of line with everything that's been so heavy. So is that like your vehicle for totally different styles of jokes? You know what I mean when I keep saying why I keep saying one-liners, right? Is that
you're writing
that's
something
really interesting.
You're writing something I think you think goes outside your genre.
Yeah.
But like I just said earlier, our first ideas are usually premise and no punch. So it really is a one-liner, your first idea. Then you develop. So therefore, even though you think like it's not a one-liner, it's going to develop into a story, we all kind of think in that way. Like I was thinking this the other day, because I know somebody said to me, there's really no one-liner comics anymore. I go, there's more one-liner comedy than ever before right now. We just don't think of it. It's a meme. All memes is one-liner comedy. Everything we laugh at on the internet is a fucking picture. It's a quick description and punch. It's not overthought. It's easy. It's simple, stupid, but that's what one-liners are. It's the first thought. Yes, they can be complex in that way too. And I was saying this to Bobby Tamburo on my other podcast, POS, but when people always ask me about doing crowd work, I'm like, the simplest way to do crowd work is to not think about it as you're talking to the crowd, is that you're doing the quickest version of premise and punch ever. I see the thing. Here's the funny thing. Boom. That's what you're doing. You're just making up a joke on the fly and trusting that on now time. So yeah, when I think of a joke that's not, if I write a joke and I don't think it's going to stand on its own, I'll find ways to put it somewhere else, especially when I don't have a punchline or a middle or something. I need something else, and I'll put it into the joke.
So that's what I'm asking. Are you using that, going back to your story, are you using that as an entryway? Because I conceptually love it. I think it's brilliant. The questions you ask are other jokes that don't have a place yet.
Right. And I can change them all the time.
Right. That's nice.
And but also it wasn't like on purpose there, but I got that thought and an idea, and I'm like, okay, where do I put this in what I'm doing right now? I'm like, it doesn't really fit anywhere on its own, me just having a nose hair observation, unless I'm going to compare that now to like other things I don't trust. And if I want to go into a whole trusting thing, but I don't know if that's really a thing I want to go into, because that's not really where my head is writing wise right now. So I was like, if I'm saying I don't trust people without nose hair, wouldn't I want to trust a person I'm going to date? And then I'm like, oh, then that would make sense here. If they want to know my stance on abortion, I should know if I can let them watch my goldfish. And then they can't watch my goldfish if they can't even trim their fucking nose hair. You know, because they don't give a fuck about if it lives or dies. So like that's my thought. So I would keep going there that way. So if I get ideas, they might fly into that. But
Well,
usually when I write something new and it's just like a one-line thought, I try to expand it like crazy in my head. I bring it on stage. That's how I write. I go on stage with like a one line, and then I just talk it the fuck out for the 5 minutes. It either becomes a story or it stays the one liner. Gotcha. But I have to verbally get it all the way through. Then I might do it and go, oh, that makes sense here.
Right. I get that.
Move shit around. That's why my first thought right away was I thought about your other jokes. I say it to Dan Brown all the time because I see his act more than anybody recently because we do a lot of mics together and stuff. And he comes to me in comics. But like when I see him doing something, I'm like, you could take that line and throw it in here. And he's like, oh, fuck. Yeah, it could. Because you just see the puzzle pieces. You know what I mean? Especially when you're around somebody a lot, you just go, oh, this would work there. And you wouldn't think it because you, in your mind, no, that's a separate joke.
Yep.
You write it, you see it as one thing. But like, I like to step back from my own. The other thing I've learned the more I've been writing and doing stuff is that I have to write jokes not from just my perspective. I have to write a joke from what I think the audience perspective is, what other comment. I can't just see it as me all the time because I'm not telling jokes to me. I'm telling the joke, but I'm not telling it to me. So they got to get it. So therefore, somebody who's in the audience doesn't want to just hear the crude. If I'm going to say abortion, if I'm going to say stillborn babies, I better throw you a silly nose hair thing in the mix. I better keep everybody on fucking board. I'm talking about a dating app thing, and I'm putting I'm blanketing the crudeness in a safe spot, you know, because it's horny, and then keeping it there. So why not add some other things too, like a true one-liner comic who might do like they'll do like nasty, silly fun, nasty, silly. You know what I mean? They kind of like throw a thing in there in the middle of that, and that's what I think helps a lot is when you remember you're telling the joke to everyone.
The thing that okay, so where my head goes with that is like, the issue I keep having personally is I get so wrapped up in this idea of flow. Like I really like the way this is coming out. I like the way this takes shape. And then every time I think about like part of the reason it doesn't even enter my mind is because the first thing you said, I'm like, okay, it's what we were talking about before. Like to me, there's that screeching halt, and like I like all the other stuff so much. Like I love that flowing. I love that weaving, and like, okay, I got them. They're with me, and I want to keep them. And then having this thing that like, it's like to me, it's the spinach on the teeth. Like, okay, that thing doesn't fucking matter what I'm saying because all they see is that one. Like, what the fuck is that doing there? What's that? Just get that fucking spinach off your teeth. You know, and like that keeps popping up to me about.
Then take the spinach out.
But that's what I mean. Like I see when I'm going down that route of, okay, I can talk about this and then, pop in this joke. It feels to me like a spinach in the teeth moment.
Right.
Always.
I'm not saying it is. Don't add the spinach yet. And then just present the spinach. See if the spinach stands on its own or does it need a main course with it. So instead of just adding it in first, just remember, when you're going up and working on shit, everything doesn't have to be perfect, but you do at one point want to see, the key is to see if jokes can stand on their own. When I watch a comic doing their set in order, when they're a 5-minute comic, the same order all the time, I'm like, they'll never know if that's the best version of that set because they go, well, I always start with this and I always end with this in the middle. But what if the set's better and your flow's better and you get more excited by telling the joke you like the most in the set? Well, the joke I like the most I shouldn't really lead with it. Why? Because you think so? Whenever I'm writing a new hour, the first thing I do is I take a joke that I enjoy telling, even if it's not one that gets the biggest, one that makes me feel, I want to feel good for the hour. So I take that thing I like when I was writing that one album where I took that joke where I was talking about going to the buffet and I say, alas, that made me laugh every fucking time because I saw a guy, a wigger, yell "alas," and it was so crazy that I would always start with it because it would get me to chuckle, and then I'd be in a good mood to tell jokes. And I knew it got them laughing because the key is the first joke should always have them uncross their arms and trust you to be safe and horny. So they have to pull their arms back a little bit. So that's what I would always tell myself to do with that. So therefore, I won't know if a joke can be that, or if I need to later on take that joke and go, yeah, that helped me at the beginning. But to make the set work for a recording, that joke needs to be in a chunk of other buffet jokes and food jokes I wrote, or casino type jokes that all kind of go together. And now it's part of it in this chunk that I have. Because also, I got away from looking at everything like it's a one long joke. And I look at everything like chunks and sets. So like if I'm doing 45 minutes right now, I write down 4 words on a piece of paper, because those 4 words mean 45 minutes.
Gotcha. Yep.
Because like one chunk will be dating app, but I just did 5-6 minutes, and I'm gonna have that down to like 10 or 12 minutes when I'm done. And not everything will be dating app, but in my head is that. Right. I used to have one thing that just said, "My kids, my divorce." That was my first album. And it was awesome. Literally, but written down, that was everything there, because that made sense in my head how they were split.
The one thing, and again, I love that. The only thing that makes my heart hurt a little bit about the like, okay, I only need those 4 things. My favorite thing at Jokers was when you saw someone's set list, because just whatever they use to remember the joke, and just that list of like, yeah, okay, dead kids, going to the candy store, and fucking grandma. It's like, I just love that shit.
Well, I love more about that. My favorite thing always was finding out what they called the joke.
Right.
Because I would say to you, like, oh, it's the the monster truck thing. You're like, oh, learning Spanish. I'm like, oh, you call it learning Spanish? Like in your head, that's what you do, but I think of it as something else. You know what I mean? So it's like, I always appreciated that. So that's why it's funny when someone does record something and they name the jokes.
Right.
It's kind of funny to see, what do they call the fucking joke? And so, but I think, like, get back at it, I think, to get back to what you said at the very beginning, that your whole thing about you is, I'm not this, but I'm also this, I'm dangerous, whatever. When I was talking about trying to relate to audiences more and try to think their perspective, you're already doing it without thinking it, because they're the 2 sides of you. There's a side that the guy is like, yeah, look at him, he's banging chicks, he's fucking dang, he doesn't give a fuck. But the woman or the guy who doesn't like that kind of crudeness is also like, he's talking about dance, and he's also, the simple fact that he's making this joke about women's feelings not mattering obviously means he knows they matter, because that's the complexity. Like someone like Kurt Metzger, who is incredible at writing jokes that make it seem like he's dumb, but you can't write a joke about being dumb unless you're smart. You know what I mean? You're not just up there being stupid. Literally writing something saying you don't know words and then saying all the words is like fucking great. Like, I'm not comparing to myself, but even me doing the stillborn joke, I'm trying to make silliness out of a thing that's awful. So by me literally breaking down the words and then doing the gender fluid one first, just to show you that I can do it twice. I know stuff, but I don't know stuff. I don't know what gender fluid means. Is a medical term for jizz. Like, why would I think it's the medical term for jizz? I obviously know it's something totally different. But then when I do stillborn later, I've set a precedent that I confuse silly, the terrible things. So it's not me being an asshole. It's me just not fucking getting it. And that's for the women in the audience who can laugh at that. Even though I had a stillborn kid, but that fucking makes me laugh. I would never text that to a man on a dating app. That's insane. Why would you say that to someone? You know what I mean? There's one person out there who doesn't like it, but the rest of them, that lady. But but that's what I always look at once I start writing something. My first thought is, how do I make everybody like it without fucking taking away the main message of the joke? So I don't want to lose the edge. So what I used to do, this is for people you've been to the mic in Northampton, Bishop's Lounge. You ever been to that one?
I think so. I think I went with you. Is that the one that's a really good crowd?
No.
Oh, okay. Then
no. This is one in Northampton, Mass, where everybody is like beyond woke or gay or has AIDS or whatever. And like,
I don't think I have.
John Carlo went there one time and tried to joke with the N-word to see how mad they were. He wanted to see how good it was as a joke. And I was like, yeah, go for it. And he tried, because if they were going to fucking go outraged, then he knew that people, they were the most, before everybody in the world was woke somewhere, this was the place you went with it. So if I had a joke that I thought might be too gruff, I would bring it there. When I started doing the joke about giraffes fucking, the joke that became one of my bigger fucking jokes for a while, I tested it there first. and saw how they were laughing at certain things. But when I went to certain graphic stuff, they were like, ooh, but they were on board for the premise and the idea and the things I was explaining. So I went more explanation and less fucking gross. And it started to work because I'm like, that's going to be, and I'm not catering to the woke, but I want everyone to walk away liking it. That's the point for the comics who are like, fuck you. If you don't get it, you're fucking not down. Like, okay, you want them all to be down. They want to buy tickets to see you. You want clubs to hire you. You want everyone to get it. If you're saying you don't want everyone to get it, that's your fault because you don't know how to make them get it. So you have that perspective. That story you just told can maybe the thing you do is also give us a couple seconds of like her. Not a lot, but enough of her mentality. And for you guys to think, oh, I tricked some girl into think we were working, whatever. It was her fucking idea. She wanted to get laid as bad as I did. Like, these hips don't lie. I'm Shakira's muse or something like that. It's like, you don't have to give a lot about her, but also because it's not a guy story. It's a sex story.
Right.
And the sex story ended in fucking bloopers and mayhem because she wanted it too. She was just as down for you to drive all the way there, to meet her at her work, to fuck at her work. That sounds like fucking. It's how women want to be with them. And then a couple now we're a little more open to it. For a long time, women are allowed to think that way. It's like the guy could talk about that, but the women couldn't. But now it's just like, yeah, she's like, if she called you, just said, I want you right now. It's like, I'm already on my way. It's like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And you're into it. You understand the desperation, the reason why you didn't look at where you were going, didn't realize that you just kept, when she, like, listen, I didn't have GPS. When she sent me MapQuest, when I looked down directions and realized the fifth landmark in a row was a Dollar General, I knew I was in trouble. You know what I mean? It's like whatever it was. How many more Eblins can I pass? How many more? Oh my God, is that actually an orphanage? Those are real. When you're stuck in Puerto Rican Day Parade traffic, you should go home. It's kind of building that up more, so you're ignoring it. So then when the whole cop thing happens, they understand everything you went through just to want to go home, and I have to go to work, and I'm drained, and like literally, and all that, you know. You would elicit more feelings out of that whole story and get people on board. And whatever the punchline is, they're just going to laugh. It's a relief laugh.
I like that. Yeah. I like it a lot. It's
some reason in my head at the end, it keeps coming back to, you should almost go back there like a week later to literally work. And as you go there, the cop goes to a lady, watch out, he's fucking trouble. Something there where like he thinks you're just gonna or they got busted for being like a prostitution ring.
or maybe a nod to the drug dealer, like, hey buddy, hey.
You don't nod, you just dip. Whenever I wave at drug dealers now, I also dance so the cops can't catch me.
Oh, fuck.
And then I do this. It's a callback to another comics joke that wasn't here.
It's funny because the thing I've noticed just about myself much more recently, just getting better at my actually how I write, is most of the shit that I have enjoyed and I think is my strongest material is stuff that legitimately makes me angry, and I have to put it down for a while because every time I get up, like it's hard, it's aggressive, it's not funny, and it makes me mad that other people don't think it's funny, but I'm an angry, like a real bitter, angry shit when it comes out at first. But yeah, it's hysterical. And everybody else is like, ooh, I don't like this.
Because you haven't learned the delivery of it or the pacing of it. The idea is awesome, but it's like when someone runs into a room and tells you news and you can't tell if they're sad or happy because they're freaking or upset. Like, you know what the fuck happened? It's like, what happened? It's like, I won the lottery. It's like, why are you yelling? I'm like, I fucking But then when you tell the fifth person, you're like, dude, what a fucking incredible day. You learn how to fucking tell it.
Right.
That's the thing. Once you lose the excitement, and then you can start building it into a real thing. And then the new excitement comes of how do I make this become what I know what it is already? That's the joy of writing a joke. I found this fucking nugget, but I got to make sure everyone knows it's gold. And some people are going, nah, that's just fucking dirt. It's like, no, it can be gold, but you got to fucking polish it. So whenever a comic's like, I'm like, oh, that joke's not bad. Like, yeah, it's done. I'm like, how's it done? You just thought of it.
Right.
I mean, you got to take fucking months to edit, write to edit. That's all open mics are. Go and keep doing it over and over. When a comic says to me, it's like, well, now it's done. It's like, well, why is it done? If it's done, then just quit, retire. You're done. Seinfeld's not done. He's still doing it. They all keep doing it. There's a point where I know a joke is fucking done. And then I get ready to, when I get enough of those, I record them and get rid of them. But like, I like to add that even when I'm telling a joke for a while and it's like a joke I know works, but I'm getting bored and I don't want them to see the delivery is boring, I'll change an adjective or a fucking describer or just to keep me on my own toes. And sometimes I'll get new shit out of doing that. Like instead of saying I was at Burger King, why don't I say I was at Chipotle? And then all of a sudden I'm like, Chipotle. When I was there one time, and all of a sudden it gets a thought in my head and I get writing something else and some dumb shit at it, or I go on a little rant. So it kind of keeps me on my toes too, because they can sense when you're fucking frustrated. Especially when a comic goes, fuck that joke. It's like, that's a weird punchline. But you got anything more for that story? Or are you good?
No, I'm good. I like that. Thanks. This is good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. And I think the good news, two things will happen out of this podcast. One, I think it will get a lot of people to understand that you don't have to be worried about chatting with your jokes with other comics, because it's hard. You can't run against your friends because they don't think about the way we think about it. It is good to hear another person's perspective who thinks about comedy. And two, so many people are going to steal our bits. That's the key to this. That's what everyone's afraid of, like sharing it. I don't care, because I'm at the point in my life, no one delivers a thing like me. Go ahead, take it, have fun.
I don't know. I don't know if I shared this with you. It's happened to me twice that something I wrote showed up and like on an actual comics, a grown up comic, and like one was Rob Puglisi reached out to me about the garbage can thing, and I'm like, when it happened to me, I got so excited. So I'm like, that means I can write material. Like I'm thinking, I thought of something that someone.
Oh, you mean when you have parallel thought?
Yeah. Like it doesn't bum me out anymore. Like it makes me excited. Not like, oh, they stole my bit. Like, holy fuck. Okay. That like, I can think that way. I can fucking think that way.
Right.
That
because
makes me happy.
That person didn't steal your bit. They just thought. I've literally had bits stolen.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I used to get mad. And I'm like, frustrated. Yeah. Deliver it the way because I wrote it. It's from my heart. Go ahead and try to do it. It's not going to fuck. I think I told you this, and we'll end on this, but like literally the first year I went to Joker's Wild, I was just starting to like host it, whatever, the mics. I was late one day. I wasn't going to host it. I think Rivera was hosting it, and I got there late. There was this kid on stage, like an Irish kid, doing my potatoes joke. And my potatoes joke, for people who don't know, is about my name. That I'm so Irish, take my name, Pat Oates, and push it together. My name's Potatoes. And for fucking, to this day, there are people, Johnny Benson still calls me Potatoes whenever I fucking see him. There are people that still call me that shit. It's the first nickname that any girlfriend gives me when she hears the joke and thinks it's the greatest thing ever and calls me Potatoes. And it's like a term of endearment with me. It was obviously something that I've known because I'm a junior. So my dad was Potatoes. My cousin Tom was Tomatoes. Like we're all fucking dumb shit. But I walk in and this guy's like, I know a guy who's so Irish. His name is Pat Oates. And it's like, yeah, you know him. I'm yelling. He's like, oh, I didn't know you had a joke about it. I go, really? I've brought you up after doing. I have like 4 jokes at this point. And that's my big one. I remember when I was Fred at Funny Bone?
Maybe.
He was the black guy that booked it.
Okay.
So he would be the guy in the voice thing, the Funny Bone.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So one time when I first started, I barely had any material and I was going to be hosting a weekend. He brings me up and he's like, that's the God mic from the back as I'm walking up. Your host this evening coming to the stage. He's so Irish. His name looks like Potatoes. Giving over Pat Oates. And I'm like, that's my whole
That's my closer.
No, not my clothes. Literally, I would say that and then go on Irish and black stereotypes. Like I would just do a whole thing about it was just the worst. And I would just do this whole thing. It's like they have big dicks, we have wee man parts. Like it was a whole fucking thing. But like it was like, and I would do other potato things. It was the worst. But like I walked up and I went, "Did you guys hear what he said?" Because if you didn't, you're gonna like it. And I told it again.
That's fucking great.
Dave, do you have anything coming up? You got anywhere that people can follow you, anything like that?
You can check out Dave Hintz Comedy at on Facebook. I'll be in Ridgefield next week with
Ridgefield, Connecticut.
Ridgefield, Connecticut. Yeah, I'm gonna be. Oh no, wait, that's not Howie. I'm gonna be performing with Howie Mason as well, and the month after that.
What do you have dates to these things?
No, because I fucking suck at everything. The 7th, I'm gonna be at Ridgefield with I guess I'm opening up for Lingon.
June 7th?
That sounds right.
Is that a Sunday or a Monday?
I think it's a Tuesday. I'm gonna be it's a Tuesday night next Tuesday.
You're doing Tuesday jokes?
I think so.
Not next Tuesday. It's 2 Tuesdays.
2 Tuesdays away. It's in Ridgefield. Did I say that? What did I say?
Yeah, you said Ridgefield into 2.
I got
shows on a Tuesday.
I got the place right. I don't know. Kevin, it's a Kevin Fitzgerald gig. Some brewery. I should probably learn more about this.
Wait, are you doing it's Revere. I think it's called the name of the place.
Could be. Is it?
It's the one that him and Seacrest are putting on together.
Yeah, I didn't know Seacrest was involved.
Maybe he's the one they're doing together. I just chatted with Kevin recently about shit. Kevin's putting on a couple of shows. Okay, yeah, I saw that you're on that one. Is that the one that Lignon's on?
Yes.
Yeah, that's gonna be amazing. Lignon's incredible. Like,
I've never gotten to work with him before.
Watch a guy who puts on a writing clinic. Like his writing is insane. Watch his first Conan appearance too. It's so fucking good. I knew him because when he first started, he would be at Foxwoods a lot. And he started as a host in the middle and then became like this big thing. So I watched him from the very beginnings, dude. That guy is fucking a beast. You're gonna enjoy it. So
awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
I've got on Friday, I will be back on Chaz and AJ from like I think 8 to 9, whatever. I'll be on there. This is today, and even if I put it out now, Thursday night I got a gig, but don't worry about it. June 11th is my big one. Me and Johnny Rizzo, the Connecticut legend, will be doing a show in Derby, Connecticut. At the Retro Pub and Grill, the one that Gary Patnell owns. I'll be putting a show on there. Tickets are on Eventbrite. Just go to my Facebook. It's already selling like crazy, so get your tickets before it sells out. People love Johnny. It's just be me and him, 2-man show, doing the fucking thing. And if that goes well, we're going to do shows there at least once a month in the back room. So it's a great little spot to have comedy at. Nice. Check that out as well. Go check out my other podcast, the POS podcast with me and Bobby Tamburo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll keep putting these on the YouTube channel. Eventually, if we get enough of them, I'll either do a playlist for it on here or do its own separate YouTube channel. But check this out. The audio will be also on the POS. So if you want to hear this podcast, it'll be wherever you hear the POS or see the POS stuff. And on Patreon, you'll see it before anybody else. Dave, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I forget the name all the time. I got to read behind me, putting in the work. Those kids were. So, and then all we ask is that, come back sometime and share something else differently. But also, if you have worked on this story since, give us an update on how it's going. Or if you get like a clip and you actually perform it somewhere and it works, or even doesn't work, you want to send us the clip, we'll play it for people so they can see how it's going.
That's fantastic.
All right. Thank you, sir. This is where you wave by.
I thought I did.
No. I don't feel safe.
Bye.
Just horny.